I would like to thank Chairman DeFazio and Ranking Member Graves for holding this important hearing today. And I'd like to thank all the witnesses for being here to testify and share their thoughts with us. Climate change, as we all know, is driving extreme weather events across the country, is a crisis that we are ready and we need to address. Certainly my district in Houston, Texas, is no stranger to those weather events, and we are committed to addressing this challenge at home in Houston. One of the things that we know is that the power sector used to be the largest contributor to greenhouse gases, and thanks to advances in natural gas and renewables, U.S. emissions from the power sector have been on a downward trend. So the transportation sector now accounts for just under 30% of greenhouse gas emissions, and I've appreciated your testimony on issues relating to transportation this morning. The first question I have is for Mr. Procheka. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, but one of the things that we've seen is we've seen the effects of low-cost natural gas in the power sector, lowering emissions. And I wanted to hear from you. You talked a lot about electrification, but what potential is there for natural gas vehicles, especially as fleet vehicles? What are you seeing in that area?
Thank you for the question, and I'm much more of an expert on electric vehicles than I am on natural gas. However, my sister organization, Securing America's Future Energy, has created a policy paper that focuses on a transportation strategy for the U.S., and so it focuses on all fuels. And if I may, I'd love to submit that as part of the follow-up testimony, because I think it does a lot of it says a lot of great things about what other fuels might do to, and in this case, mostly to reduce the impacts of oil in terms of our economic and national security. So I would, in this case, defer to that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I would like to see that paper. I believe in my own district there are companies that have transitioned to entirely natural gas fleets. So I think that is a growing area of opportunity. And I think, Ms. Arroyo, did you have a follow-up comment to that or an answer to that
I was
question?
just going to say that they're especially good for reducing emissions of criteria pollutants, natural gas and propane vehicles. From a greenhouse gas emissions perspective, battery, electric, and hydrogen offer more promise.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. I think in general, one of the things that we have seen, and we've heard some testimony earlier about some public-private partnerships or efforts that we're seeing from industry. And so I would like to hear from anyone on the panel who wants to take a step about where industry is leading and how the government can help amplify those efforts. I know there were some questions about that earlier, but where can the government be of assistance in making sure that those efforts are being amplified?
So I will actually answer this question, if I may. And it's Prohaska, just to demystify.
Thank you.
Get rid of the C, much easier. So thank you for the question. Actually, in Houston is a perfect example. It's one of the energy centers of the country. And in fact, CenterPoint Energy right now is working with great effort to convene a broad community of stakeholders that represents both public and private sector members of the community, and in partnership with the city of Houston to figure out how to rapidly accelerate the adoption of plug-in electric vehicles. And I think those kinds of examples are springing up all over the country where utilities and cities are getting together and recognizing that these are both great economic opportunities because they can leverage huge investment locally from the private sector, and you can match that with federal dollars. And so I think the idea would be for every dollar that can be contributed to that through infrastructure tax credits, vehicle tax credits, et cetera, that you're going to see the payback in those from those investments, maybe 2 or 3 or 5-fold from the investments from the private sector.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add from our perspective, you've heard a little bit today where we've talked about the CLEAN program, and I want to say what that acronym stands for, the Continuous Lower Energy Emissions and Noise Program. And that's an FAA industry public-private partnership to really advance technology operations and infrastructure. And I wanted to note the acronym, what it means for, because it focuses on fuel alternatives, it focuses on greenhouse gas emissions, noise, synergistic issues in the way that we fly our aircraft.
And I'll just add one more, and that is with transit operators working with what we call the TNCs, Lyft, Uber, Via, where they are collaborating to provide service in areas that are less dense and do it much more efficiently than a conventional transit operator can do. And there's many examples of that around the country.
Thank you very much. I yield back my time.